What do you wanna be? Wanna be me? Well, come and see. Wanna be, man, I can't stand me. Wanna be us. Wanna be us. Wanna be us.
Yo, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, we're starting off a bit different. In this case, we're starting off here in Modern Warfare, but I'm gonna be showing you how to make a stat bar style thumbnail for today's video. So I'm gonna start it off here. Is you can choose anything, any weapon, right? Any bundle. It all depends on you. For me, like, you can choose this new Saw bundle, this AMAX variant. You know, you can take a screenshot of this and make it into a stat bar style, whatever that you want. But for me, I'm gonna go into the armory, look for a weapon I like. I'm just gonna take a random weapon, but I've been looking into this Mara M13. I like it. I don't know why. It's just like colorful, and I like it. I like how it looks. I feel like this is gonna fit very good for like a thumbnail, or for like a stat bar style thumbnail. So for console, it's a bit easier for you to screenshot. You got your certain button, or for like PlayStation, you got your share button. You can screenshot whatever you have on your screen. For PC, you can press your Windows key and print screen at the same time on your keyboard. Or if you have like another software like me, I don't use that. I use this. Let me show you real quick. I use this app called Lightshot. I downloaded this. This is easy. I just press print screen once, and I can choose whatever I want. It can be the smallest little thing. I'm the one who controls it, so that's mainly why I use it, because I have most control over this. It's called Lightshot. I suggest you download it, since it helps out a lot. Like, it helps out so much. But for example, I'm just gonna use this as my template, or as the weapon of choice that I'm gonna be using. I'm gonna screenshot this. Let me just take this right here, Control S. I'm gonna save it to where I want it to. So in this case scenario, it's gonna go to my downloads folder or something like that. It all depends. And I'll meet you right back in Photoshop. Okay, so now that we're in Photoshop, what you want to do is create a new project, new file, whatever the case you may want it. You can go here, create new. You can title it right here, or Control N on your keyboard as a shortcut. That's what I mainly use, Control N. What I use is 1280 by 720 by 300 resolution. I'm gonna use a black background, which is mainly for this stat bar style thumbnail. You can also use 1920 by 1080, which is right here at 300 resolution. But that I don't really use it, because you may encounter some assets that are low quality compared to the 1280 by 720, and it's just gonna throw off your thumbnail. It's gonna look a bit weird. It's not gonna look the best, right? So for me, I use 1280 by 720. Also, not to mention, when you use 1920 by 1080, YouTube downscales your thumbnail to 1280 by 720. So that's why I just go with the default resolution that YouTube downscales it to. So I'm gonna title this stat bar template. Don't mind me, I type slow. I'm not the fastest typer. Okay, so we got this done right here. We got our stat bar template. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna look for our screenshot. For me, it's my downloads folder. This is my screenshot of my M13, or the weapon I'm going to use, this variant. I'm going to cut this out with the pencil. So what I'm going to proceed to do is press P on my keyboard, or you can go here to the toolbar, and it's right above the text. So right here, this is the pencil. I'm going to give like a simple explanation on how to use the pencil. Nothing too crazy, nothing too in-depth, but basically what you want to do, to zoom in before I get in, you hold Control and space at the same time, and you drag with your mouse, left clicking. So you can drag in and out, and what that's gonna do is zoom in and out, and then Control and 0 is gonna put your whole image to fit into the canvas. So I'm just gonna zoom in and have my pencil out. I'm gonna click on a point. That's where my pencil is gonna start. That's where I'm gonna start cutting out. So right here, as you can see, I'm gonna curve it a bit. So to move around with these little dots right here, I don't know what to call them, anchor points or something like that. I don't really know the name for them. What you want to do is to move these, you want to press hold Alt on your keyboard and click on it, left click, and you can drag this. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna make sure like your other anchor point is set. So for here, I'm just gonna leave it straight. And if I did this, I can curve it. But if I wanted to, you know, curve it down here or something, it's just gonna look weird. So what you want to do is hold on your keyboard and make sure it's like you can maneuver it, curve it around, and keep playing with it. You know, you just got to get adjusted. And then to move these, like the squares or the anchor point, that's what they're really called, because I know that for a fact. You hold control on your keyboard and you can drag them around wherever you want. So if you mess up something, like you put it right here, it's no biggie. You can just drag it, and that's pretty much it. So let me cut this out real quick and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so now that we're done cutting out our weapon, what you want to do is go into your path section. So what this is going to do is you're going to select your pen tool, or what you just cut out, which in this case would be your weapon. So we go into our paths, hold control on your keyboard, and click on the small little thumbnail right here. And what that's going to do is going to select what you just cut out with your pen, or what you just selected with your pen. And now what you're going to do is click on your work path, and then wait, I'm not selecting my layer. Okay, my layer is selected. Select on your work path, and then add a layer mask right beside the plus sign, or this weird sign. So add a layer mask. So in this case scenario for me, you know, it messes up. Photoshop doesn't like me sometimes. It is what it is. I'm gonna go back into my layers. I'm gonna click on the layer mask right here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press Control and I. Wait, that's not it. Control and I, and what that's gonna do is that's gonna invert the layer mask. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna delete this path, and we're gonna apply this layer mask. For some of you, you know, Photoshop might like you, unlike me, and it's gonna select the weapon. You're gonna apply the layer mask either way. Just make sure it's your weapon what's selected and not your background. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean up these small little details, like on the grip and like on the trigger. Pretty much that's just it. It's nothing too big. We can leave this as is, or we can you don't even need to cut it out, because that's part of the side. As you can see, it's a bit thick on this side, so I'd imagine it's gonna be thick on this side too. So what you want to do here is do the same procedure. You're gonna pen tool your black areas, or like your background that's still on your weapon. I don't really mind much, like when it comes to like this right here, to cut this out. I just really don't mind it. It's a waste of time in my opinion. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring it over here to my trigger. We're gonna continue cutting it out right here. Okay. And after this, I'm gonna show you how to make a stat bar. But before anything else, there's a small little trick you may like to use when you're doing thumbnails. Okay, so that's done right there. You're gonna make sure your layer is selected. You're gonna go to your paths again. You're gonna control and click on the small little thumbnail like before. You're gonna press on your work path, and now you're gonna add another layer mask and delete this work path because you don't need it anymore. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna apply your layer mask. And now what you want to do after this is hold control and click on your small thumbnail right here, and then go up here to your little tabs and press on the select tab, and then go down to modify, contract. Your base is going to be contract by 1, which is perfect. You're going to be contract by 1. Control and J, which is going to duplicate your layer. So when you duplicate it, it's going to cut off like a pixel, which you can see right here. It cuts off a small little pixel for like overall. So that's pretty much, you can do that. Or if you don't want to do Control J, let me You can press M on your keyboard, grab your marquee tool right here. This is the second one on your toolbar. Right click, and you can use layer via copy or layer via cut. I can't talk, excuse me, I'm a bit slow on that, but it is what it is. And after you got that, you can delete the bottom layer, which is the old one, and you're going to be left with this. And now you're going to right click on the layer and make it a smart object. So let me show you how to make the stat bar next. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create a new document for this stat bar. I don't really have to, but you know, it's personal preference to what I want to do. So right here, we're gonna go to custom and make it 1280 by 720. It really doesn't matter. We're gonna add a new layer so we can delete this background. So we just have like a straight transparent background basically. Now what you want to do is you want to press U on your keyboard, or make sure you have this rectangle tool out. For me, I'm gonna make the fill black because that's gonna be the background for my stat bar. So make sure it's completely black. After that is done, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna click once on the canvas, and what that's gonna do is gonna create this rectangle right here. I'm gonna do 1260 by 250. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna create my background rectangle for the stat bar. So I'm gonna put it right there because that's mainly where the stat bar goes for these stat bar style thumbnails. I'm gonna rasterize it and call it background. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is add our text. I like using, make sure this is white. I like using the Gotham medium text, the font, I said text. It's Gotham medium or Gotham on the medium preset. So what I'm gonna do here is, I think it's damage first, damage, range, and then fire rate and accuracy. So I'm gonna do damage here first. I'm gonna make sure it's at least 50 height. So 50 height is perfect for me. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this, line it up with the corners of the background or the black square. I'm gonna move it to the right by 30 pixels, and then I'm gonna move it down by 22 pixels or 20. It's all on you. It really doesn't matter. 22 pixels right there. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna duplicate this, and as you can see right here, they're lining up together. And bring this down by another 22 pixels. How I duplicated that is I'm gonna hold Alt on my keyboard and then click on the layer you want to duplicate, and then just drag down. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna create a new layer. And then you hold Shift to make sure it's lined up and it doesn't move from the position it's at. So right here, I got a new layer. Drag it down, holding Shift so it doesn't move to the left or right. That's another 22 pixels. Alt, drag down, hold Shift, and what that's gonna do, another 22 pixels. Is that 22 pixels? Hold on. Let me make sure it's 22. I'm very OCD when it comes to this. There you go, 22 pixels. Okay. So now this is gonna be range. This is gonna be fire rate. And this is gonna be accuracy. So we're gonna line all these up with the damage, like starting on the left side. So this is lined up. Oh, that wasn't lined up. I don't know what happened there, Chief. Don't have a space here. I don't know what's happening there. So let's just try to line it up with. I don't know what's happening with the range. We're gonna fix that in a bit. I don't know what's happening there. Let me just add an anchor point, one of these lines right here, so we can make sure everything's good right there. Okay, that's pretty much good. So what you do here, you can, pretty much make anything symmetrical or place them wherever you want. With these lines, you can get them Control R holding your ruler. Control R is gonna make your ruler pop out, and then now you can just drag and drop these lines. And to remove them, you just put them back into the ruler, drag them back into the ruler, and that's pretty much it when it comes to those. So now what I'm gonna show you how to do is the squares. So we're gonna use this rectangle tool again. It's gonna be white. So I'm just gonna click once and make it 40 by 40. Boom. We're gonna start off on the accuracy side, so let's do that first. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create 20 squares of these. Then I'm gonna merge them together. So first off, I'm gonna start make sure that the square lines up in the middle with accuracy right here. So it's lined up in the middle. You can see there's a line going through the middle of the square and accuracy. So I'm gonna put them together, and I'm gonna separate them by 25 pixels. Okay, 25. And now what I'm gonna continue doing is duplicating them and make sure there's only 5 pixels in between each other, to make sure that all the squares fit and have the exact amount we want. So let me just add all these squares and I'll be right back with you. Okay, so now we got our 20 squares right here, 20 individual squares. As you can see, I have placed them all, duplicating them. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna click on my last square, which is gonna be copy 19 for me, and then hold shift and press on the first rectangle, Control and E. And what that's gonna do, it's gonna merge them together, so we don't have to do that same process for fire rate, range, and damage. So now that I did that, I'm gonna rasterize it. So right click on your mouse and rasterize there, and I'm gonna title this 1, 2, and 3, and 4 for each square. So this is gonna be 1. I'm gonna duplicate this and make sure it lines up in the middle with fire rate. Do the same with damage and make sure it lines up in the middle, and then the same with damage, make sure it lines up in the middle. Gonna title this 2. Gonna title this 3. 3. I'm gonna title this 4. Okay, so that's pretty much it when it comes to your squares. So now I'm gonna make sure that I like this. I have the text how I want it. I'm gonna add this Fox bold icon right here. What that's gonna do is gonna add like a bit of pizzazz to your text. It's gonna make it look a bit bolder, a bit better. I personally like it a lot. So after adding it, I feel like that looks perfect. Now what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna group these two together. I'm gonna title this squares. Oh, my caps lock is on. Nice. I'm gonna click on accuracy, shift, and click on damage, Control and G. And what that's gonna do is gonna group it. Or you can use this small little folder icon down at the bottom right here. It's right here beside the plus sign. By the way, I am using Photoshop 2020. I haven't updated to Photoshop 2021, which I believe is out now. I'm using 2020 for now. I'm gonna title this text, and then the background I'm gonna leave as is. For any given case, you know, since we're basing off our screenshot right here, our Mara M13, we can use multiple colors if we want to. So for my case scenario, I'm gonna use like a light purple and a light blue. So I'm gonna go into the squares. I'm gonna double click on the squares, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a gradient overlay. As you can see, this I already have from my previous thumbnail that I did. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna do this reset to default. Okay, it's gonna be like a grayish down here. So I'm gonna click here on the grayish part. I'm gonna bring this to the purplish. I'm gonna make it a bit light purple. I'm gonna click OK. I'm good with that purple down below here. And then for my secondary color, or the color up top, I'm gonna make a light blue. I feel like that's a little too bright. Like right there. You can play around with it, you know, it's all depending on your personal preference, your weapon, it all, you know. Make sure it does match so it looks good and professional. But I'm gonna use this right here. You can also emboss it a bit. Yeah, I don't really recommend it. Add a bit of contour texture, it's all up to you. I don't really recommend it that much. You can use like any other like preset and stuff. If you were using individual squares, it's gonna look a bit different, but since we combine them all together, it's gonna look a bit weirder. So I'm just gonna leave it like this, and let me just turn all this off. I'm just gonna do the gradient overlay. So now we're gonna duplicate this layer style onto the other squares. So just like if you were duplicating a layer, you're gonna duplicate your layer style. So you hover over the effects, hold Alt, and drag the effects down to the 3, 2, and 1. So now you got your stat bar basically. So I'm gonna I'm gonna click on squares. Why did I bring that up? I don't know. I just clicked once. I'm gonna click on squares, shift and click on background, Control and G. I'm gonna title this stat bar. So now what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna double click on the stat bar. I'm gonna put a stroke on, and make sure it's white stroke at the at 5 size. And I'm gonna add a drop shadow. I'm gonna put it like at 50 opacity with the blend mode being normal, because when you first put a drop shadow, it's gonna be on multiply. Make sure it's on normal, 50 opacity, 10 distance, 0 spread, and 8 size. That's what I usually use. You can play with this. You can make more distance, less size. Let's say I'm gonna use 13 distance, 6 size. So that's pretty much it when it comes to that. We're gonna drag this over to our stat bar template right here. We're gonna put this towards the bottom and make sure it lines up in the middle. Also, another thing you can do so you make sure that your stat bar is kind of symmetrical, you can hold click on squares and shift on text, and you can control T and make sure it's at the middle. So basically right there, that's the middle for the stat bar, and it pretty much is symmetrical. It looks good, you know, it's gonna look great. So once we add color corrections and stuff, we're gonna see, you know, stuff is gonna change and such. The colors on the squares, so we can edit this before we can merge it. So because we're gonna edit this stat bar to where it has a perspective. So now what I want to do before anything else, I'm gonna click on my bottom layer, aka my background, add a new layer, put this at 77% fill. And now what you want to do is take a brush, press B on your keyboard, or the brush is right here, right below this like little band-aid. So small little summary how to make your brush bigger, smaller, harder, or softer is pause. You're gonna hold Alt on your keyboard and right click. Left and right makes it bigger, up and down raises our hardness, and you can mess with this. So for right now, for this, since this is gonna be a background brush, I'm gonna use this at a 0% hardness and put this somewhere around in the background. So somewhere like there. I like how that looks right there. I'm gonna tell you can use any color because we're gonna be adding a color overlay. So I'm gonna tell this background brush. Okay, background brush. I'm gonna probably make it blue, yellow. It all depends. I mean, this weapon variant we're using is colorful, so that works with us a lot. So I'm gonna add a color overlay. It's gonna be on white. We can add this, like make it a light blue. We can make it like a light yellow, a light purple. But for me, I'm gonna make it like a light blue, since I feel like it's the color that's gonna pop out a bit more saturated and such. So I'm gonna do a light blue. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag over my screenshot, aka or my render, whatever you want to call it. Put this above the stat bar. Oh no, not in the stat bar, above the stat bar, please. We're gonna control T, free transform it. We can angle it a bit, you know, play around with it. You can put this in the middle. I don't know what's happening. It's messing up a bit, but hey, it is what it is. I want to put it in the middle, so alright, that's the middle right there. That's pretty much placed how I want it to. So that's good. I like how that looks. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a layer style to this. I'm gonna title this M13. So I'm gonna add a drop shadow too, as well. Like with the stat bar, I'm gonna add less distance, like 7 distance, 6 size, 50% opacity on the normal blend mode. I can add a color overlay, put the blend mode on overlay, make the color white, and the opacity make it only like 9-10%. Don't make it much because it's gonna look a bit washed. You can do less, but that is pretty much it. Let me get my color corrections and spikes and make some new brushes, so I'll be right back with you. Okay, so I got my other thumbnail from another person. This is for Booya. So what I'm gonna grab from here is gonna be my color corrections and my spikes only, because the brush, oh, and the tag. I left the tag in the previous video, but this is gonna be a little updated tag, so there's that. So we're gonna copy this over to our stat bar template. We're gonna hide the tag for now. We're gonna hide the effects. We're gonna delete this layer mask on the spikes. By the way, if you're using Photoshop and you want to make spikes too, here's the thing I recommend. I probably said this before, so let me just turn off my spikes. You can use the lasso tool, or on your keyboard, or the third option right here on the toolbar. Make sure it's the the second one. I don't know. I don't want to butcher the name. I don't want to sound stupid, so I'll just use the second preset right here. You're gonna hold down and just make some spikes. Wait, no. Control and backspace or Alt and backspace, and what that's gonna do is gonna make a small spike. You can continue doing this. You can continue making it. You can make your own spikes, but I'm gonna leave the spikes I use, like these, in the PSD of a Google Drive folder down below. So now I see the colors on the stat bar. I'm gonna make the purple a bit darker since it looks like a bit, a bit weird. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna make it a bit darker. Oh, what happened there? Excuse me, sir. Make a purple a bit darker. I'm gonna add a bit I'm gonna make the blue a bit lighter because I don't like how it looks right now. I kind of like this gradient it's given right here, so I'm gonna leave it like that because it looks too bland down here below. So I'm done with that. I'm gonna copy over these layer styles here. Okay, I got that done. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a layer mask to my spikes. So let me delete that layer. I'm gonna add a layer mask to my spikes. Go into my stat bar and hold Control and click on the background. So what that's gonna do is gonna select your background, and now you click on your. Oh wait, I don't know what happened there. But now you're gonna click on your layer mask for your spikes. What happened here, sir? The hell? I'm just gonna delete it and add a new one because that looks a bit weird. So what that's gonna do is gonna leave this right here. I'm gonna Control and I and invert it and make sure that everything else is left except for within the background. But there's another thing you can do here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete this layer mask right here, and what I'm gonna do, since I like how this stat bar looks, I'm gonna Control J. Why did that happen? Control and J on the stat bar, and then Control and E and merge that together. And I'm gonna bring our main stat bar with all the files and all the squares that we can edit and stuff. I'm gonna bring that below the background. So right here we have our stat bar copy. What you want to do is make it a smart object. Press Control T on your keyboard, and what that's gonna do is gonna free transform. Right click on the stat bar, and you can see you have many options here. So the option we're gonna be using is perspective. We're gonna click on perspective. So what we're gonna do here is grab this top right corner and drag it to the left. So what you can see is it's given it like an angle. That's what I like doing here. It gives it like a bit more depth. I don't know how you could call it. So I'm gonna slide it a bit to the left, and then for the bottom right corner, I'm gonna slide this to the right. Oh, I didn't grab. Did I grab? No, I'm gonna slide this to the right. So that's pretty much how I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna free transform this until it fits the canvas. So I'm gonna make sure this fits the canvas nicely. It doesn't look weird. Make sure it's in the middle. Okay, so that fits the canvas perfectly right there. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do hold Control and click on the stat bar, and now we're gonna add a layer mask to our spikes. We're gonna press Control and I to invert that layer mask so everything else is left remaining. And right here for the tag, I have this tag. I'm gonna edit this. I'm gonna leave this in the PSD down below, but this is a bit more different tag than the one I left last time for the last thumbnail tutorial. So I edited this tag a bit. Now I have two layers, which is gonna be the red layer and the white layer, which you can edit, cut out, in any given case scenario, because I was having some issues with my other tag and it just didn't look the best. So right here, I'm gonna grab the tag and I'm gonna put best here or something, right? Best exclamation mark. So now I'm gonna take this that I call a tag and free transform it. So I want to make it less wider, but I want to keep how tall it is. So I'm gonna hold Shift on my keyboard, and I'm gonna drag from the left side, and I'm gonna drag the right side. And what that's gonna do, it's not gonna alter, our height, or everything in general. It's just gonna alter how it is from from the sides. So Shift, drag down, Shift, and drag down, and as you can see, we have our tag that's perfectly good. We can angle this text a bit more to fit perfectly. That's pretty much it, how I want it. We're gonna put this below our weapon. So we're gonna angle this a bit, make it a bit smaller, free transform. I don't know what is happening with my Photoshop, it's acting a bit weird. I'm gonna put this like towards the corner, angle it a bit. I'm gonna leave it right there. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the white that I have labeled right here, click on the small thumbnail, and then go into the layer mask for the spikes, and Alt and backspace or Control backspace. It all depends on what color you have first. So just try it out. Now what I'm gonna do is deselect it with Control and D, and what that's gonna do is no spikes are gonna be going over our tag, so it looks cleaner. So what I can do is I can make this M13 a bit bigger so it fits more in the screen, and I'm gonna add 2 new layers. One is gonna be linear dodge add, and put this to like 50 opacity and 60 fill. We're gonna title this brush. Oh, my caps lock is on. Brush. That's gonna be our main brush, and then we're gonna duplicate it or make a new one and go to linear dodge. Oh wait, what happened here? Did I make 2 new? Oh, I made 2 new layers. I don't know what is happening, guys. My Photoshop is acting up real weird. So I'm gonna make this into a linear dodge add 2. Lower the opacity to like 40, 46, and what? Hello? Is my other mouse on? Hello? My other mouse isn't on. I don't know what's happening with this mouse. So I'm gonna put the opacity at 39%, the fill around 40% too. I'm gonna title this white brush. Alright, white brush. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna open my brush with B. I'm gonna make my brush smaller, and I'm gonna grab accents right here, like yellow accents from this, and I'm just gonna click it. I'm just gonna make it a bit more saturated and click on the yellow accents of the weapon. So I like how it was right here, so I like how bright it was. So I'm just gonna click it. It feels like it's clicking it twice. Yeah, it is. Something's wrong with my mouse. Hold on, let me change my mouse real quick. Let me use my other mouse because this one's acting up. This one's even better for, I mean, it moves on its own, but it acts up less. So there's that. Okay, I'm just gonna click it here, click it right there, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna choose a new color. So we want the, what is it called, the eyedropper tool? Eyedropper tool, yeah. You can, when you have your brush out, you can hold Alt on your keyboard, and what that's gonna do is gonna bring out your eyedropper tool. You can choose any color you want. That's on your like weapon, any other case. So I'm just gonna put this on like where I feel like it could go nicely. Make this a bit. This like both of my mouses are messed up right now. Oh my god, I'm having so many issues, man. It is what it is. So I'm just gonna add a purple right here. Take a light blue. I'm gonna clean out my mouse in a bit. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm just gonna add one right here, add one right here, and take a blue, add it right here. That I added it twice right there because my mouse is messing up. I added it twice there. So now what we're gonna take here is a white brush. I'll make our color white. So what I want to do here is just add it randomly, not add it everywhere. My mouse is acting up. I have to clean it out or something. I don't know what's happening here. I apologize for this, but it is what it is. I have no control over this. I'm gonna add some brush to the background of the stat bar. Make it purple, make it blue. It all depends on you. And that is pretty much it. How to make a stat bar style thumbnail. What you can do is play with the opacity, the fill. That's all on you. My mouse. I'm gonna have to clean out my mouse, but you can play with the opacity, the fill. That's all on you. But before we do anything else, what I want to do is, oh wait, before anything else too, right? Control Shift and A for camera raw filter. You can go to your filters tab, which is up here, and press camera raw filter, which is like your third option, and you can play around with this, right? You can make this, you can sharpen it up, reduce noise, color noise reduction, add more contrast, make it brighter. You know, I don't know what's happening here. Add more contrast if you want to. Add a bit of highlights, remove some little bit of shadows, a little bit of whites, a little bit of black, so you make your weapon a bit darker. I'm gonna add a bit of texture, so it adds texture to my weapon, a bit of clarity. I'm gonna lower the vibrance, and I'm gonna raise the saturation a bit. So this is pretty much how I have it. You can play around with this a lot. You know, Camera Raw filter has endless possibilities, and Photoshop as well. So I'm gonna press OK, and that's gonna change up the look of my weapon a bit. It's gonna be, make it a bit more sharpened, you know, a bit different from what it looked like. Now that I pretty much got that done, I'm gonna press on my stat bar, shift, and go to my color corrections from bottom layer to top layer, or top layer to bottom layer. As long as you group them together on Control G or make a new folder, what you want to do is Control and J or duplicate it, and Control and D and merge it together. So we merge it together. Now what you want to do is go into your filters, go into sharpen, and go into smart sharpen. This is gonna sharpen up your weapon, your thumbnail, make it a bit more crisp. I can't talk. I'm sorry. I'm stuttering too much. It's gonna make it a bit more crisp. I'm gonna do it amount 45, my radius 1.5, and reduce noise at 28%. This is what I normally use. That's why this was, you know, this is why it popped up like this. I'm gonna press OK. It sharpened it up a bit. It's not like a huge major difference, but when you're looking at it on the screen, you can notice it. So now that we're done with that, I'm gonna save it for web, which I'm gonna do Control, Alt, Shift, and S all together. And what that's gonna do is gonna bring this up, save for web. I'm gonna save it in my other thumbnails, what's it called, folder, stat bar template. I'm gonna save it right here, and I'm gonna save the PSD for y'all because I'm gonna put this PSD to this thumbnail down in the description below. I'm gonna put this save on computer. I'm gonna save this to my other thumbnails as well, and that is pretty much it when it comes to making a stat bar style thumbnail. I hope you did enjoy the video. I hope this helped you out in any type of way. For me, you know, I like helping out people. Our last video has hit 1,000 views, and I really appreciate it. I can see y'all like the video. Many of y'all like the support, the video. Y'all like the concept of how to make your own thumbnail. This is gonna be the last one for MW, possibly. I don't really know yet. I'm gonna make another 2 for Cold War, since in a few days Cold War does release. So be on the lookout for that. This is gonna be for Modern Warfare, Warzone. It can be for both game modes. So with that being said, I hope you did enjoy the video, and I'm out. Peace.